Hi creative friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So today I am going to do a true monochromatic kind of exercise, and so let me just explain, you guys. I posted a video a couple of days ago and it's called Monochromatic, and what I did is I was using my Paynes Gray, my titanium white, and that was it, right? And I called it monochromatic. And a lot of times we do tend to call that monochromatic, but it's actually achromatic because these are not considered true colors or hues, and these are just used to lighten or make another color or hue darker. So I called it monochromatic, but actually that is achromatic. But I left the wording in there because a lot of times we do tend to label like a black and white painting exercise or whatever as monochromatic. But the true monochromatic is when you take one hue or color and then you add a white and you add a Paynes Gray or a black or whatever, a really dark, the darkest value, and then you make tints out of it. Or alternatively, another way to do a monochromatic painting is just to get like a whole bunch of blues, right? Like you can get Prussian blue, you can get sky blue, you can get ultramarine blue. So you can get different kinds of blues where the pigment is already like mixed. You don't need to use your black and white to mix it. But if you really want to push yourself using just one hue or color and then mixing the different tints and shades and values yourself is just going to push you, rather than opening up a Prussian blue that's already mixed and then saying, oh, I'm just going to use this sky blue and I'm just going to use this ultramarine blue and I'm just going to use this phthalo blue and blah blah blah. That's already mixed for you. So it just is more challenging. You're going to learn more if you mix it yourself, and it's going to keep the hues and the colors clean, if you will. So you're not going to get like all these varying undertones and because say an alizarin crimson, it's a warm color because it is red, but it also leans towards the cools because the undertone is blue, right? Say as opposed to a cad red light where the undertone leans more towards the yellow, so it's like much warmer. So all colors or hues do have different undertones. Anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent about that, you guys. So I'm just going to use these like three hues or colors, but I am also going to use some oil pastels, I think, which leads me to my second point. And this might seem so obvious, you guys, but it bears like really just bringing it out into the open and becoming conscious of it. But where we work affects how we work, and also to the substrate that we're using also affects how we work, right? So let me explain. Like about a month ago, like I started cleaning up my studio, like doing a deep clean, okay? So my studio is just a raging mess. So I moved my stuff onto my kitchen table and I'm doing watercolors. And what I realized is that when I'm sitting at the kitchen table, I just moved, not that far from my studio to my kitchen table. What I realized is, okay, I'm using different media. I'm using more dry media. I'm using, like, I'm not getting out my paints and my inks and all this other stuff. And it was just a simple geographical move, right? And it's the same thing like when you work outside. You're gonna use different materials, you're gonna work differently. Like when I'm working outside, I'm more messy. I'm using my arms more because I have more space. I'm using my spray bottle more. I'm like splashing stuff. I'm just going to town. I know that the sun is gonna dry everything super quick, so I'm working really fast. I'm moving from this to this. I can get from one to another like that much faster. So where you work does change how you work, as well as the materials that you use. Also, the substrate that we use also affects us, right? So this is newsprint. It's not my favorite. Not that I have anything against newsprint, you guys. It's just that I forget when I'm painting, and I want to reach for my paints. I want to reach for my inks. I want to reach for this, that, whatever, okay? But this starts tearing because it's not meant for that. It's meant for dry media, right? So what I am doing now is I find that as I'm working more and more in my newsprint, I am tending more towards like dry media or thicker applications of paint. So instead of like, you know, getting out my spray bottle, because I can get spray bottle happy, especially when I'm outside. Like instead of getting my spray bottle and going, oh, I'm just gonna squirt everything and make all this big juicy mess, I'm more leaning towards like impasto, right? Because I like, it's not that I mind when my paper rips, but my paper is really, really ripping to the point where it's like, oh my God, this is, you know, like, do you see what I'm saying? So like you adjust, right? As opposed to, say, if I'm working in my cheap line composition notebook, well, that's a whole different situation, you know, or I'm working on Bristol paper or watercolor paper. So where we work and the substrate that we are working on, they are going to affect how we work and the materials that we use. That might seem like really obvious, but you know, it bears repeating because I'm like, oh, okay. And also to you guys, I did mention this, but somebody recommended this to me about a year ago, and it's Winsor & Newton, and it's the Art Guard Skin Barrier Cream, and I have been using it religiously, and I really love it. So it's right here, Winsor & Newton Art Guard, and when I put it on, like I honestly don't feel as if I have any thick buildup or anything, and it just feels like super, like I don't have anything on my hands. Like it's a good feeling, right? And I purchased it from Dick Blick. I think this is my second jar, and I want to say it was like $8. I don't know. I might have just pulled that number off the top of my head. I don't remember, but it wasn't like more than 10, I don't think. So, but it does last quite, you know, it does last a fairly long time. So, anyways, let me just get to this, okay? So I do have like some oil pastels here, and because I'm using this orange hue, I'm only going to use white, black. I don't know, I might use gray, but I don't know, because I can mix grays with this, so I might use the gray. And I am, and then I have my, you know, these oranges, right? But I'm not going to introduce any new colors. I'm going to really try not to anyways. And this is just a kind of an exercise on, hey, let me just see what I can kind of, you know, how I'm going to use the paints differently, right? Just having such a limited kind of range. And this is my value finder. Always, 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 always so useful, handy, important. It's such a great learning tool, right? And the thing about a value finder is you want to use it so often that the goal is to not need it anymore, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying you're going to get to a point where you never need it, but to just, in the beginning, like I use it a lot. You know, this is probably my second or third one, because after a while you get paint splashed on it and whatever, and it falls apart. But you know, like yeah, there's nothing wrong with just being like, oh, let me just see, whatever, right? But the more you use it, the more you don't need to use it, because you can kind of eyeball things, right? But anyways, okay, so we are just going to kind of do a very simple kind of, let me see here, what do I want to do? And I'm really sorry for the last video too, you guys. The way I had my camera positioned, it just was like, oh my God. I look at all my videos before I post them, and I almost didn't post it because I was like, oh my goodness, like that was so not positioned very well. But part of it was also too because the newsprint is a really super large, and my camera is just not set up for that large of a substrate, because let me explain. My camera, like up ahead, like above right here, it would have to be like much higher, and I don't have anything to mount it like so high. So yeah, part of it, so I just cut the newsprint like to size here so that, you know, I could position it properly, so like it's not, half of it is not like falling off the table. And I'm sure that was really awkward to watch, so I'm really sorry about that. Okay, so another thing while I work, you guys, that I want to talk about is, in my last video, and honestly, you guys, this is the main reason I even posted the last video, because I really considered not posting it. But one of the main reasons I posted it is because it's really strange, and it just started happening recently since I started working on newsprint and me working on my Painting the Feminine class with Connie Solera. It's like I've started conversing with my paintings directly, which is very, very new to me. And I think that it's important. That's why I posted that video, even though I was like, oh my God, this is so awkward. It's like half the pages falling off the freaking table and whatever. But in that video, I talk about how I started actually conversing like out loud, like you know, just talking to the painting, which normally I don't do that. Normally I will use my studio log, because I'm just I just tend to be more comfortable writing and journaling. And but you know, when I went to Oaxaca, Connie, if I remember correctly, she talked about conversing directly with her paintings, like actually having conversations, like talking to the painting, like you know, oh, hello, you know, moon or sun or whatever, you know, lady, what do you want to tell me? Who are you? Where are you going? Whatever, I don't know. But you know, I'm not like positioning myself to know how she talks to her paintings, but she made the she did say that she does converse directly with her paintings, and then she also uses her studio log, right? So I never did that. But now that I'm working on newsprint and working in her Painting the Feminine class, I am doing that, you guys. And it's like opening up this whole new world for me that is actually more symbolic. And I don't know if that's my Healing Ancestral Trauma art journal, or if it's like my listening to Dr. Estes, or I really don't know. But it's just a new way of working for me, and I'm really interested and curious and excited about it. And I just think it's important to always be open to just new, different ways of working, you know? That's like so important, and not be like, okay, I've used my studio log in a certain way for the past 10 years or whatever it is. Well, now I'm just feeling this intuitive call to start verbally talking to my paintings and really listening to what they have to say, you know, to me, right? Where they want to go, blah, blah, blah. So I just think that's important. Just always be open to new ways of working, new ways of seeing things and doing things, and just saying, hey, you know, yeah, I've done it for this long, and now it's different, right? So another thing that I'm realizing, and I mentioned this at the start of the video, is that because this is newsprint, right? Like I am like starting to like now work more impasto. So just applying it really thick, not using a lot of water. Now I want to add some, let me see here. I want to add some of this black here, because I really want to give it some kind of body here. I really want to. So do you see, even in this like very, you know, start, like it's a, you know, just a start, right? But can you see how this is very different than getting like, you know, me getting this orange and that orange and like, you know, 6 different oranges, right? And now you're just using this one hue or color, and you're like mixing your own stuff. This is a different kind of a process. Position, a different, you're going to get a different palette, right? And it's going to be cleaner in the sense, as I mentioned, you're not going to have all these different undertones, because you are going to just have this, all the tints and shades you're gonna mix are just gonna be from these colors, right? And even with my oil pastels, I don't know how much I want to use of them. I don't know. I'm gonna probably limit, I'm probably just gonna limit them to a few. I'm not gonna like bring all these different oranges and, you know, etc. I'm not gonna do that. And so you do get something that is a very, very clean and more nuanced, you know, just, and you have to work harder. You have to work harder to make your tints and your values and figure out your, like, you know, your problem solving skills are gonna have to be higher, like when you just have a very limited range. And ooh, I really like that. So I am so interested, you guys, in this whole new way of working and conversing with my art. And it's all like pretty new to me, and it's like a whole new world has opened up. And like I said, it's just so Dr. SD's Jungian, collective unconscious, poetry, dreams, memories, like it's just very fragmented. And then I like talking to it in my paintings, and then like going and writing in my arts, like in my studio log after, and just like it's so like the stuff that's coming out is just blowing me away. I will share it at some point. But yeah, it's a great reminder of how important it is to just always be open, you guys, to just new ways of working. So important, and not to get stuck. It's like the cup half full, you know, like a full cup, it can hold no new ideas. It can hold nothing new. It's just like, oh, I know everything, etc., etc. And of course, a cup that's half full is much better because it's beginner's mind. It's this and that. And the goal, I think, as Picasso said, is to, you know, just keep on getting to the way we were when we were children. And that's like a not a completely empty cup, but yeah, you just keep on making more room in the cup for new ways of seeing and being and working, you know, and doing things. See, I'm really loving this. So I don't think I'm gonna put orange on any of the face. Well, maybe a little bit, but certainly not. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. It's so funny, you guys. Like, 1 minute I'll be so certain, like, I'm not gonna use any orange on the face. Okay, well, maybe just a little bit. I don't know. The next thing you know, I'm like painting my whole figure orange. But you know, this is the part about talking to the painting, is you are going step by step. So you might think, oh, well, I'm not gonna use any orange at all on the face, right? On the figure, whatever. And yeah, okay, fine. But then you get an intuitive hit. You talk to your painting. You say, hey, where do you want to go? Like, what are you feeling? What's going on? And then you get an intuitive hit, like, oh, okay, I am supposed to use orange on the face. Oh, I am supposed to paint the whole thing orange, you know? So it is a like breadcrumbs, you know, you're just following each breadcrumb. It's not like you don't have anything figured out. You're just like step by step by step by step, right? And that's what I'm kind of learning, me working, like talking to my painting, like just out loud. It's a more of it lends more to an intuitive process rather than writing. Writing has its own value, don't get me wrong. And in the beginning, like, I was really kind of intimidated when I came back from Oaxaca about the studio log. Like, it just seemed like so kind of intimidating to me.